The Nintendo Switch event just ended yesterday, and we got more than a few new details about the console. I'm Jake from Give It Thought, and let's take a look at the top 5 things to come out of that event that was, well, let's be honest, it was a little bit awkward at times. At number 5 is the release date and the price. These two are combined because they are similar enough in their relatedness, and this isn't the only entry that is combined, so just know that going forward. The price of the Switch had been rumored to be anywhere from $250 to $300, and it looks like it settled at the far end of the spectrum at $300 US. I think that is a reasonable price, although anyone would be happy if it was lower. This was the exact price I expected it to be, and I was already prepared for it. The release date, which is March the 3rd in all territories from what I can tell, was a bit earlier than I thought. We all knew from the reveal trailer that it was set for release sometime in March, so no prediction could be that far off. But I think most people had it pegged for mid-March instead of so early in the month. The way I see it, the earlier the better. Plus, the new Zelda was announced as a launch title, which I'll talk about a bit later. At number 4, we have the battery life. By battery life, I mean the amount of time you can play the system away from the Nintendo Switch dock. We were given an estimated 2.5 hours for some of the heavier games, all the way up to 6 hours for some of the lighter games, likely some of the virtual console games that will no doubt make their way to the system. This was a huge worry of mine and most of the people that I talked to about it, and it's nice to see that the system will have a decent battery time. This is about right in there with the 3DS XL, and that handheld has excellent battery time in my eyes. I would guess that games like Skyrim, which was confirmed, would just suck the juice. But smaller ones would be feasible to play for long sessions. It seems perfect for long car rides or waiting for an appointment, although I would feel pretty strange playing that ARMS game in a waiting room. Coming in at the midpoint of this list at number 3 is both the Joy-Con grip and strap and the new HD rumble feature. I combined the two because it shows the technology behind these detachable mini controllers. The first thing I wanted to talk about was the attachable Joy-Con grip. This accessory, if you want to call it that, sort of makes the Joy-Cons into little Wii remotes that allow you to play motion-controlled games on the system. I mentioned the ARMS game a second ago, and that was the game that was particularly highlighted to work with these detached Joy-Cons. The grip gives the Joy-Con more of a rounded shape, and as far as looks go, it makes them much more attractive as a controller. As far as the HD rumble goes, we didn't get much more than that ice cubes in a glass presentation. Until the public gets their hands on this one, we can't really speculate on it too much. What I will say is, it looks like a feature that will work well with many games. I don't know how many third-party games will use this feature, but if a game like Zelda Breath of the Wild uses it the right way, sort of like Skyward Sword used the motion controls better than any other game, it could really add to the immersion. Say, if you're fighting an enemy, based on where it hits your shield, you'll feel the rumble in that place, in respect to that impact. Just seems like a great way to increase immersion in a way that other systems just cannot do. At number 2 is the collective games announced for the system, and there was a surprising amount of them. I will say we didn't get a release date for most of them, just a release window, but just knowing that they're coming is a calming gesture for people like me who have been doubting the third-party support for the Switch. We got a few looks at some first-party games including Splatoon 2, the aforementioned Zelda Breath of the Wild, and ARMS, a quick peek at another Fire Emblem, and 1-2 Switch, which looks like it will be the Wii Sports for this console. There was also another Xenoblade game announced which got the 2 numbering, so it looks like it will be a follow-up to the original Xenoblade Chronicles, especially since we saw an upgraded Monado at the end of the trailer. ARMS looked pretty fun too, especially if the motion controls work well. The design reminded me of a smoother looking modern Street Fighter game, except in the third person. And it's a first-party Nintendo title, so at least we know it will be a stable game. We got to see Todd Howard in a video presentation where he confirmed Skyrim on the Switch. All in all, it looks like a pretty well-stocked premiere library for the Switch. Hopefully, it will avoid that early drought in games that the 3DS had after its release. And there is one more game that most people are probably noticing that is absent from the games I'm talking about, but that brings us to number 1. And at number 1, the most exciting thing to come out of yesterday's Nintendo Switch event was Super Mario Odyssey. Where do I start with this one? Zelda Breath of the Wild arguably stole the show at the end of the presentation, but for me, 3D Mario games always top everything when it comes to Nintendo. Our first look at the upcoming platformer is a little bit jarring actually. We see Mario, the fictional character, and he looks like he's running around in the real world. I know my first thoughts when I saw this was the very solemn, Oh no. But as the trailer goes on, we get to see other locales, including that desert town we saw a snippet of in the reveal trailer, some kind of food-themed world, and then the most attractive-looking environment I've ever seen in a Mario game that looks to be composed of mainly forests. And then we got a look at Bowser in a fancy white suit, where he throws his hat, which is a precursor to Mario's own new ability of doing the same thing, throwing his hat. It looks like it will be a traversal tool as well as a way of defeating enemies. We see Mario cheat on Yoshi here with a Sphinx right before we see a bunch of rabbit enemies. It looks like this game will feature a few references to Alice in Wonderland in the White Rabbit and have Mario traversing dimensions or something. There is a lot of hat imagery with the ship that Mario flies as well as his new hat abilities, which will likely line up with some kind of Mad Hatter. Just the look of this game has me excited. So what did you see in that presentation that I skipped over? Be sure to tell me down below because this is about where I'm going to wrap this list up. If you enjoyed this video, make sure you hit that like button, subscribe if you're new around these parts, and make sure you follow me on Twitter at GiveItThought1. Links are, as always, in the description. Thank you so much for watching, and remember, give thought to everything.